We grow up believing love is a lightning strike. Sudden. Uncontrollable. Almost divine. A feeling that overtakes us, with no warning, no logic, and no explanation. The movies reinforce it. So do novels. That there is one person, one moment, and that moment is everything. But the truth is more complicated. Love is not chaos. It's a calculation. A chemical ritual in the brain. A mirror reflecting both our desires and our fears. And falling in love is less of a fall and more of a slow psychological construction built on perception, biology, need, timing, and unconscious recognition. To understand love is not to diminish it. It's to finally see it clearly. Because what you call butterflies might be your attachment system activating. What you call spark might be shared trauma you haven't yet identified. And the pull you feel toward someone might have little to do with them and everything to do with what you've lost or never had. Falling in love isn't random. It's a coded response to emotional cues that feel familiar, validating, or healing. Psychologically, falling in love begins with attraction. But attraction is not just about beauty. It's recognition. When you feel a sudden connection with someone, your mind is not meeting a stranger. It's recognizing patterns, expressions, body language, tone. You're subconsciously asking, have I felt this before? Have I seen this face in a dream or a memory? We are drawn to what feels familiar, not necessarily what is healthy. If your early experience of love was inconsistent, you may crave emotional roller coasters. If you were neglected, you may fall for people who withhold attention. The spark is often a warning sign, not a green light. But because it feels familiar, it also feels right. Neurotransmitters flood the brain early in attraction. Dopamine, pleasure, norepinephrine, alertness, and phenylethylamine, excitement, rise. Your brain begins to associate the person with reward. You begin to obsess. Replay their words. Fantasize. This is not romance. It's reinforcement. Mirror neurons are part of what makes love so immersive. They allow us to feel what others feel, to sync our emotional states with theirs. In early love, this creates a powerful illusion of connection. You begin to smile like them, speak like them, mirror their gestures and preferences. This syncing is often mistaken for compatibility. But it's actually the brain's way of building rapport quickly, of securing the bond. This is where people often say, it just felt like we'd known each other forever. That's the mirror neurons at work, flooding you with comfort and imagined intimacy. You're falling in love, not just with the person, but with your own reflection in their emotional feedback. You fall for how you feel around them. And that feeling is your brain on mimicry and idealization. Perhaps the most underrated aspect of falling in love is attachment. Developed in early childhood, your attachment style determines how you connect with others. Secure, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized, this blueprint silently governs your attraction. People with an anxious attachment style often feel magnetically drawn to avoidance. Why? Because inconsistency mirrors their earliest relational wounds. Love, for them, is something to chase. Avoidance, on the other hand, may crave love but fear losing independence, creating a push-pull dynamic that feels electric but often turns toxic. The truth is, many people don't fall in love with another person. They fall in love with the emotional echo of a parent, a loss, a longing. The person becomes a stand-in for unresolved parts of the psyche. This is why love can feel like fate, even when it's self-destructive. It's the subconscious trying to rewrite its own history. In early romantic stages, you don't see the other person clearly. You see a character you've cast in your personal narrative. Projection is central to falling in love. You fill in the gaps of their identity with your fantasies. Their silence becomes mystery. Their intensity becomes depth. Their detachment becomes confidence. You give them traits they haven't earned, because you need them to be someone for you. This projection fuels the honeymoon phase. Reality is suspended. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, rises with physical closeness. You feel high. Everything they do feels significant. Your brain is editing out red flags, sharpening the illusion. This is the period where people say, they're perfect. But what they mean is, they fit my fantasy perfectly. Eventually, reality returns. That's when the illusion breaks. And many people, unwilling to let go of the fantasy, leave in search of a new one. But those who stay begin to build something real, if the psychological foundations are solid. Falling in love is also about timing. You can meet the right person at the wrong time and feel nothing. Or meet someone mediocre when you're emotionally raw and fall fast. Vulnerability makes us more open to connection. After heartbreak, loss, or a major transition, we seek emotional refuge. Love becomes a balm for wounds we don't want to face alone. Timing includes emotional readiness. Many fall in love not because the other person is extraordinary, but because they arrived at a moment of openness. This is why so many couples say, "We met when I wasn't even looking." It's not randomness. It's receptivity. Eventually, the chemistry stabilizes. The brain returns to equilibrium. The flood of hormones that once glued you to this person subsides. This is when real love begins, or ends. Falling in love is not sustainable. But building love is. The shift from involuntary to voluntary is critical. You stop falling and start choosing. You choose to listen. To communicate. To empathize. You stop idealizing and begin humanizing. If the bond was built on fantasy, it crumbles here. But if it was built on authenticity and shared emotional values, it deepens. Mature love is less cinematic but far more resilient. It sees flaws and stays anyway. To understand why you fall in love the way you do, ask yourself, what emotional dynamics in my childhood shaped my idea of love? What kind of people do I repeatedly feel drawn to, and why? Is the attraction I feel based on who they are, or who I want them to be? Do I confuse emotional intensity with compatibility? You must learn the language of your own attachment. Understand your emotional wounds. Love doesn't heal them on its own. It reveals them. And unless you've met yourself deeply, you'll keep looking for someone else to do the work for you. Falling in love is one of the most powerful experiences a human being can have. But it is not magic. It's a mirror. And if you stare long enough, it will show you everything: your wounds, your desires, your illusions, your capacity for care and control, hope and fear. The trick is not to stop falling in love. It's to understand why you do. Then, perhaps, you can love not because you're lonely, or scared, or lost, but because you've finally seen yourself clearly, and you're ready to truly see someone else. Falling in love doesn't just shift your mood or rearrange your daily priorities. It rewires the architecture of your mind. And perhaps what's most striking is this: it often does so without your permission. At the core of romantic love is a deep fusion between fantasy and memory. When you fall for someone, you're not merely falling for who they are. You're also falling for what they represent to you, often unconsciously. The psyche projects a constellation of unmet needs, unresolved childhood dynamics, archetypes, and latent desires onto this person. They become a screen onto which your unconscious plays its most vulnerable reel. This is why love feels so consuming. You're not just seeing the other. You're seeing your own psychological landscape mirrored in their presence. Carl Jung called this phenomenon anima and animus projection, where the person you love appears to carry something of your own inner soul. It explains why love can feel mystical, like fate has reached through the noise of the world and hand-selected this one individual just for you. But that sense of destiny is often a psychic echo, not a cosmic truth. You're encountering a part of yourself in another, which is why rejection or loss can feel like the death of a part of your identity. There's a hidden pattern in the way we fall for others. It's rarely random. The heart has a type, not in the shallow sense, but in the psychological one. We are drawn to people whose emotional makeup resonates with our early experiences. Not because they are healthy for us, but because they are familiar. Love, then, becomes a kind of reenactment, a rehearsal for a wound we are still trying to resolve. Someone with an emotionally unavailable parent might find themselves irresistibly drawn to a partner who is hot and cold, loving one day and distant the next. Not because it feels good, but because it feels known. This is one of the darker sides of love psychology. Sometimes what we called chemistry is actually recognition. Trauma recognizing trauma. Familiar pain dressed up as passion. Yet this isn't inherently tragic. There's potential for transformation here. When two people become aware of the emotional scripts they're acting out through each other, love can evolve into a space of profound healing. But without that awareness, it can easily turn into a cycle of mutual wounding. Love also warps time. Early in romantic obsession, days stretch and fold in on themselves. Hours feel like seconds in their presence, and seconds feel like hours in their absence. This time dilation isn't just poetic metaphor. It's grounded in neurology. The limbic system, especially the amygdala and hippocampus, modulates emotional memory. The more emotionally intense a moment is, the more your brain imprints it. That's why even brief interactions with someone you're in love with can feel etched into your mind. These moments acquire a mythical weight, out of proportion to their actual duration. In some cases, love creates a kind of emotional time capsule. Years later, you might recall a single glance, a fleeting kiss, a shared silence, as if it just happened. These memories are neurologically sticky. Your brain tagged them as important, survival level important. Because in evolutionary terms, attachment is a form of safety. And your brain treats losing love like a threat to existence.